Bay Area. Hi, this is Diane. Thank you for joining us again on SFN. We are air every Monday on Channel 29, Channel 76 on Comcast at 7:30. Housing is a human right. Tents, drug dealers, human race, prostitution, sidewalks blocked. Where can we, the people, feel safe? Where did these people come from? Can our city attorney help? What is the responsibility of the city attorney? The responsibility of the city attorney of San Francisco city attorney is to represent and advise the city, its agencies, departments, boards, commissions, and officers in all legal matters. This includes providing legal advice on various issues from contracts to zoning laws, representing the city in court proceedings, drafting legislation such as the legislation that would be required to clean our sidewalks off, to stop the open drug usage, etc. Drafting legislation for consideration by the Board of Supervisors, conducting investigations into possible law violations or misconduct by public officials, and defending lawsuits brought against the city of San Francisco. Does the San Francisco city attorney have the power to stop people from blocking sidewalks who are using drugs? Yes. The San Francisco city attorney can take action against people blocking sidewalks or using drugs. The city attorney can seek a court injunction or other legal remedies to prevent this type of behavior from taking place. Additionally, the city attorney may be able to refer individuals involved in illegal activity for prosecution and drug treatment programs. That's always appropriate. One or the other, or both. Why are tents allowed on San Francisco sidewalks? So many people are asking us this question. I have so many emails, so many tweets. Tents are allowed on San Francisco sidewalks because the city has recognized that there is an urgent need for housing and shelter. The city's policy allows tents as temporary housing for people with nowhere else to go, to ensure that these individuals have someplace safe and secure to sleep at night. This policy also recognizes the rights of all citizens to access public spaces without fear of discrimination. I would like to interject that we see that has went terribly wrong in San Francisco. COVID started, we set up the temporary shelters, tents on the street, and we don't know where these people come from, but it is absolutely out of control. I don't have to tell you, you've seen it. So a lot of people want to know, how can tents be removed from the sidewalks of San Francisco when the dwellers are drug addicts who are causing damage to the neighborhood? When tents are occupied by drug addicts who are causing damage to the neighborhood, the city of San Francisco has several options for removal. The city can work with social service providers and law enforcement agencies to provide resources and support for individuals living in tents, such as drug treatment programs or housing assistance. That's if they want help. Otherwise, they can be legally removed. Additionally, the city may, and here we go, this part. Additionally, the city may cause legal action against those damaging public property or otherwise creating a public nuisance. Why is housing a human right? Housing is a human right because it is essential for health, well-being, and dignity of every person. Everyone has the right to live in security, peace, and grace. Adequate housing provides safety from extreme weather conditions, protection from hazardous materials, or dangerous neighborhoods. Access, not right now because everything's out of control here, but a change is going to come. And also, people are entitled to access to healthcare and education, economic opportunities for economic mobility. What does that mean? Opportunities so that they can earn money, gainful employment, so that they can move up. People are more vulnerable to exploitation, violence, drug use, and discrimination without secure shelter. What does the state of California Health and Safety Code say in Article 5? Article 5 states that, quote, all people are by nature free and independent and have inalienable rights. That means rights that cannot be denied. Among these are enjoying and defending life, liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety, happiness, and privacy. Right now, the homeless situation is in direct violation of Article 5 of the California Health and Safety Code. This article also recognizes the right to housing as a fundamental human right for all Californians. What is affordable housing? Affordable for whom? This is what a lot of people say. It's affordable for whom? Let's talk about it. What are the facts? Affordable housing is generally defined as housing that costs no more than 30% of a household's income. Affordable housing can include rental units in multifamily complexes, single-family homes, and apartments. This type of housing typically requires government assistance or subsidy, such as public housing vouchers, tax credit, and other forms of financial aid, to make it affordable for low-income households. Some still ask, how can people who were forced to leave San Francisco because of gentrification return? People forced to leave San Francisco due to gentrification can return by advocating for stronger tenant protections and right to return policies, and lobbying local government officials and attending the Board of Supervisors meetings and the OCC2 meetings, which really is the redevelopment, which redeveloped us right out of San Francisco. But lobbying government officials for more affordable low-income housing units. Mayor Breed announced that she is going to build 5,800 affordable housing units to comply with the state mandate. And thank you very much, Mayor Breed. I know you're fighting an uphill battle because there's going to have to be market rate housing to subsidize the affordable low income. So let's be very clear. Low income housing is affordable housing for low income. Affordable housing, let's be clear. What is the income? What are the income brackets? It's called the band of affordability. The major difference between affordable for whom and affordable low income housing. Additionally, organizations like the San Francisco Tenants Union provide direction and support. What are the affordable housing construction plans in San Francisco as of 2023? I just shared with you that the mayor and San Francisco's mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development has established a plan to create 5,800 new low-income affordable housing units. And again, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, the Mayor's Office of Housing. This includes plans for building more public housing, creating incentives for developers to build below market rate housing, expanding the city's rent subsidy programs, and producing more workforce housing. Additionally, the city is investing in community development projects such as parks and other amenities that will help make neighborhoods more attractive places to live. San Francisco has produced over 4,500 BMRs, that means below market rate units. This includes 2,500 newly constructed and 2,000 existing rental units acquired and preserved as affordable housing. The next story. Speaking of housing and shortage of inventory, is the Hunters Point Naval Shipyard safe for human habitation? The Hunters Point Naval Shipyard is currently not safe for human habitation. The site has been heavily contaminated with toxic chemicals and radiation, as it was used as a Navy shipyard from 1945 to 1974. The Hunters Point Naval Shipyard is a Superfund site. If you don't know what that means, please look it up. Time does not permit today, but feel free to email me at sfnewstv@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to share the breakdown. I'll break it down for you. The Hunters Point Shipyard is a Superfund site on the southeastern shore of San Francisco. That's Bayview Hunters Point. The Navy, overseen by the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and state regulators, has been cleaning up radiological and chemical contamination in the shipyard for over 30 years. As the cleanup is completed and approved, the Navy has agreed to transfer the property to the city in stages to create San Francisco's biggest housing development. It is not clean to date. Some of the properties have been handed over for development without the proper clearances. The developer is Lennar, which is doing business as 5 Point, working with the San Francisco Office of Community Infrastructure. That's formerly the Redevelopment Agency, with plans to build thousands of homes at the shipyard. We're all in favor of it. Just clean up the land and show us the disclosures from an objective body, not a city-related body. We need an independent, objective body. The civil grand jury began this investigation with a question about the potential impact of groundwater rise due to climate change on the future of the shipyard. Over the past decade, new coastal adaptation science has emerged to show how shallow groundwater reacts to sea level rise. In brief, as the sea level rises, shallow groundwater near the shores rise with it and can cause flooding, damage infrastructure, and mobilize any contaminants in the soil. The jury asked if rising groundwater could pose special risks to health and safety in the low-lying, heavily polluted landscape of the shipyard. The jury learned that experts believe that the shipyard's soil and topography, or the land, the top layers, make it very likely that sea level rise will strongly affect shallow groundwater there. The jury further found that rising groundwater in the shipyard could interact in dangerous ways with future infrastructure and hazardous toxins the Navy plans to leave buried in the soil. We wanted to know if this new science and these risks had been considered by the city, by the new Redevelopment Agency, OCII, or the Navy and its regulators. We found that they had not. To address this lack of information, the jury recommends that the city hire expert scientists to examine these risks in detail. The city of Alameda has set an example with a recent study predicting how shallow groundwater on the island would react to sea level rise and how rising groundwater might interact with contaminants at different sites. The jury recommends that San Francisco, acting through the Office of Resilience and Capital Planning, commission a similar independent study specific to the shipyard so that future development plans can be informed by a thorough analysis of rising groundwater there. The Bayview Hunters Point real estate professionals will sell no land, no properties until this has been accomplished. The land must be cleaned. The jury also wished to issue recommendations about how such a groundwater study might help improve the shipyard cleanup. But the jury cannot issue recommendations to the Navy or EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and state regulators, and so look for a solution that could come from inside the city. The jury discovered that the cleanup process is forbiddingly complex and invisible within the city. Yet the stakes for San Francisco in that process for health. The Hunters Point Naval Shipyard, in a time of climate change, for environmental safety, and for the resilience for future development in the shipyard are enormous. But hardly anyone in the city is paying any attention. Within the city, expertise about the Superfund process that governs the cleanup exists only in the San Francisco Department of Public Health's Hunters Point Shipyard program, which until recently had only one employee. Several other departments in the city have familiarity with the science of groundwater rise. They might have flagged the risks to the shipyard, but these departments are unfamiliar with the cleanup and the Superfund process and do not communicate with the San Francisco Department of Public Health about the shipyard. This leaves the city poorly prepared to address emerging issues such as groundwater rise at the shipyard or any other risks the Navy and its regulators may have overlooked. may overlook or may have overlooked. There is no mechanism to discover such issues, develop a response, or follow through with the Navy and regulators to a resolution. The grand jury recommends that the Board of Supervisors create, without delay, a permanent Hunters Point Cleanup Oversight Committee made up of representatives from the city departments with pertinent expertise. This committee could proactively look out for the city's best interests in the cleanup. It should perform general due diligence and communicate the city's concerns to the Navy and regulators ahead of major decision-making about the cleanup. To address the transparency of the Superfund governance process, the jury recommends that the San Francisco Department of Public Health create all necessary explanatory materials to support the work of the Shipyard Cleanup Oversight Committee. Until we receive this information, we can't call it safe because we have nothing to verify. To ensure that the committee is informed about key cleanup decision points with enough time to weigh in, the jury recommends that the representative of the San Francisco Department of Public Health appear before the committee frequently for briefing. Finally, to return to where this report started, the jury recommends that the Cleanup Oversight Committee review the results of the recommended groundwater rise study, determine what it means for the future of the shipyard and the people who would live there on unclean land, and respectfully but assertively share the city's position with the Navy, the EPA, and state regulators. The intersection of rising groundwater and buried contaminants pose a credible risk to human health and well-being. Given the rapid climate changes, the city must take immediate and sustained action to protect its residents. Is there an objective oversight of the Hunters Point Naval Shipyard cleanup? Has the EPA disposed of all hazardous materials from the Hunters Point Naval Shipyard? Not at the community level, as the RAB, Restoration Advisory Board, which was comprised of community doctors and residents, was eliminated. The only U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and California Department of Toxic Substances control and oversee toxic substance control, oversee the remediation process, ensuring that all safety standards are met and that any hazardous materials have been properly disposed of or removed from the site. We're waiting. We're still waiting for the cleanup. Actually, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, still needs to dispose of all hazardous materials from the Hunters Point Naval Shipyard. As of now, most of the remediation work has been focused on removing radioactive soils from residential areas and proposed residential areas and other contaminated sites to make them safe for human habitation. The ongoing cleanup process is expected to take several years additional years to complete. Black history in San Francisco. This is where I have a couple of pictures of Western Addition, and I wanted to share with you why we are so emphatic about safe housing, what redevelopment did, eminent domain, what they did. They came and they took our land. So Black history, and we're showing you, can we go scroll back down for a minute? Thank you. Black history in San Francisco was the removal of black homeowners, residents, and black business owners by eminent domain. How can people who lost their homes by eminent domain? Eminent domain refers to the process by which the government may seize private property with proper compensation. I have not spoken to anyone who has received proper compensation that was a victim of eminent domain. Sometimes the land was just confiscated. The viewers who asked this question were never adequately compensated. And if you were, reach out to me, because I have not heard from anyone yet who has been properly compensated. The land can be confiscated and taken without the owner's consent, without eminent domain, and that's what they did. They took our property in San Francisco. How can they get their property back or get damages for their lost assets? If someone has lost their home to eminent domain, again, eminent domain refers to the process by which the government may seize private property without proper compensation and without the owner's consent. In San Francisco, they may be able to get damages for the loss of their property. They can include getting back the actual asset or being compensated with monetary compensation. To pursue such claim, individuals should contact an experienced real estate attorney who specializes in eminent domain law and can help them understand their legal rights and options. How were the vibrant black communities of San Francisco obliterated? Do you see that? Can we pull the picture of some of the people living in prosperity? This is in Western Addition. Black people going about their business. It was the Harlem of the West. We had a life here. We had a strong community. We had love for each other. We had black businesses. We owned property. So through the eminent domain process, the black communities were obliterated. So it had what effect did it have on black homeowners in San Francisco? It goes without saying. Eminent domain had a devastating effect on black homeowners in San Francisco. In the 1950s and 60s, the city issued eminent domain to seize hundreds of homes in predominantly black neighborhoods, displacing thousands of people. The city then sold the land to developers who built high-rise apartments and commercial buildings. This process of urban renewal resulted in the displacement of thousands of black families and the destruction of vibrant black communities such as Fillmore. So when they come through, what they do, they also rename. Now it's called Western Addition, but it was Fillmore. The removal of these families had a lasting impact on the city. Many could not find affordable housing in other parts of San Francisco and were forced to leave San Francisco altogether. Does California Senate Bill 593 address the wrongs of eminent domain or just subsidize housing? This is a bill proposed by Scott Wiener. We have to watch Scott Wiener because if you don't read the details, his bills you will find are designed to help a particular group, special interests. Because the bill proposes to right the wrongs of eminent domain. But what the bill says, Senate Bill 593 does not directly address the evils of eminent domain regarding black homeowners who lost their homes for pennies on the dollar. Instead, it seeks to address California's lack of affordable housing by subsidizing developers who build affordable housing units. This bill also requires cities and counties to streamline the approval process for such projects, making it easier for developers to build affordable housing. Their accountability is a must. Call your senator. This bill needs to be shored up. While this bill does not directly address the wrongs of eminent domain, it does provide a potential solution to the lack of affordable housing in California, but it provides no solution to right the wrongs of the displacement of thousands of blacks. And that's a major issue, and it was exacerbated by the displacement of black families due to eminent domain. California's proposed Senate Bill 593 must include home ownership opportunities, fair compensation for black homeowners whose homes were confiscated. Everyone didn't live in housing projects. Many also had businesses, black businesses. A complete Senate bill addressing this travesty must be included. Otherwise, it may appear as tokenism only addressing affordable housing units. Scott Wiener, please represent us with a complete Senate bill, if you're sincere, which would address the wrongs. Well, I'm Diane. Thanks for joining me again on SFN. And that's what's going on. Bye-bye.